What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, Wednesday evening, November 6th, we're going to be hanging out for the next half an hour or so going over I'm going to first read off the practice reports and get you guys caught up with all the Wednesday news, and then I'm going to open up the questions and answer anything you guys may have for me, start sits or any other questions you guys may have for Week 10. We're going to just be reading the Underdog NFL's Twitter feed here, just letting you guys know who practiced and who did not. Starting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield does not practice on Wednesday. If you guys watch my show, you guys know Wednesdays, not the most important day for practice. These are more walkthroughs, first day, first practice of the week. I'm not overly concerned about Baker Mayfield with a toe injury. Usually a lot of rest, maintenance, veteran day offs on Wednesday. So Baker Mayfield, I still expect him to play. Sterling Shepard with a hamstring and a hip injury does not practice. That one I'm not really quite sure. We'll watch for that one. Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan also don't practice today. I'm pretty sure Mike Evans is not playing. This does not bode well for Jalen McMillan, though. They do have a bye, I believe, next weekend, and then week 12, Tampa Bay's back. So I would expect Jalen McMillan out. Tampa Bay to be shorthanded at wide receiver. One more time, 49ers, Jordan Mason fully practices Wednesday. We're not starting Jordan Mason with Christian McCaffrey back. And honestly, I kind of think that Isaac Guerrero might have hopped Jordan Mason in terms of pecking order for running back too. Chargers news, Gus Edwards says he feels 100%. He was limited today. I don't think we need to go out and pick up Gus Edwards. Someone that I'm not super excited about. Eagles news, A.J. Brown limited at practice. That's good to see, but no Devonta Smith today with the hamstring is what they're saying. So hopefully tomorrow Devonta Smith can go. It does look good, though, for A.J. Brown limited today. I would hope he gets another limited in tomorrow. Jaguars, Gabe Davis limited in practice today. I believe he was in a non-contact jersey. He's got a chance to play this weekend. No Dameon Pierce yet for the Texans, so that's a concern. I'm going to assume that he's not playing. New Orleans Saints, Chris Olave with that concussion, he's going to visit a specialist. No decision on whether he's missing IR yet, but that alone makes me think he's out 2 to 3 games at minimum. So we'll see if we see Chris Olave back anytime soon. Jamal Williams also limited in practice today for the Saints with that groin injury. Dallas Goedert says he's tracking to play Week 10. We'll watch and see what his practice reports are tomorrow and Friday. I'm not super excited to get Dallas Goedert in my lineup, though, at the moment. So we'll watch for the Eagles reports. Titans, you have Tajay Spears limited in practice on Wednesday. I thought he was going to play in Week 9. He did not, but I think he's on track to play this weekend. Drake London limited in Wednesday practice with that hip pointer. That puts him on track to play this weekend, so we'll watch for his reports tomorrow. Darius Slayton, New York Giants, concussion protocol, does not practice today. I'm thinking he's doubtful for this weekend. Baltimore Ravens, they listed Isaiah Likely out for tomorrow night. Keaton Mitchell listed as questionable. Interesting there for Isaiah Likely. Brian Robinson officially limited today. Good news there. More 49ers news. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and Jawan Jennings all limited in practice. I'm expecting all 3 of those guys to play this weekend. Good news for Caleb Williams, not on the injury report with that ankle injury, so he's going to be fine. Justin Fields fully practiced today with the hamstring. Cincinnati Bengals, they listed T. Higgins as doubtful. So no T. Higgins. I think Mike Gesicki is a guy that we're going to be looking at as a tight end 1 this weekend. Jonathan Brooks officially activated to the Panthers 53-man roster. Bryce Young labeled as the starter for Week 10. And then Adam Thielen does not practice today. So I don't know what's going on with Adam Thielen. I think going forward, I want Xavier Legette or Jalen Coker on my teams. No CeeDee Lamb today. And then I did see, and good evening to Harris. I did see your question here. Can you explain the Tony Pollard news? So I'm looking at a quote here from Callahan, the head coach, saying the Titans have to creatively manage Tony Pollard's workload during practice and games. I'm not quite sure what that means, to be honest. I think you're probably looking at him not really getting a ton of touches in practice in wear and tear. Like, he's their best player. They want to get him 15 to 20 touches per game. But if they're creatively managing his workload during practice and games, I have to wonder what that looks like in games. And that makes me think, like, okay, are we not going to be running Tony Pollard in between the tackles as much? Are we going to be getting him the ball in space? Are we going to be trying to make him, break outside and try to avoid some big hits, things like that? So I don't really know what this means, creatively manage. I'm assuming that he's basically just not going to practice a lot the rest of the season, and they're going to keep him kind of unbubble wrap until Sunday. So I'm not going to worry too much if Tony Pollard's missing practice. Creatively manage. If we see Tajay Spears back too, that could help Tony Pollard stay healthy. So I think if you are a Tony Pollard owner, you don't really want him taking too many more 20+ touch games. Even though it's been nice for fantasy, his longevity is not great if you're giving him 20+ carries per game. More Titans news. Will Levis will practice more this week. Doesn't say he will start. I think Mason Rudolph just getting the win last weekend means he gets one more start. If Mason Rudolph loses, then we'll probably see Will Levis back there next week. Nico Collins has passed all his tests for the hamstring injury. Still determined if he plays for week 10. So we'll hopefully find out more information tomorrow or Friday. No Juju Smith-Schuster for Wednesday. I don't know if that matters at all. We're not trusting him. Keon Coleman, rookie Bills wide receiver, won't practice Wednesday, and I saw some reports that might be a multi-week injury here. So Keon Coleman was starting to come around and look pretty good. All of a sudden, he's not going to he's not playing this Sunday, and I think he might be a multi-game absence. So we'll see about Amari Cooper, who did practice today. I think Cooper's on track, but if I'm starting Bills receivers, I think it's Shakir and Amari Cooper that I want in my lineups for the next week or so. Trevor Lawrence, I do see a question here. If Trevor Lawrence is out, BTJ or Dell. If Trevor Lawrence is out, I'll go with Tank Dell. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to miss, though. They're labeling it as upper body soreness. There's not really necessary. There's not like a brew. Like it's just sore. So there's not anything that we're watching specifically here. He was limited in practice today, so I still think Trevor Lawrence is going to play. But now we kind of have to think about this thing going forward, and maybe we don't see Trevor Lawrence play a full season in 2024. Khalil Herbert could play on Thursday. Hopefully we get an update on that before the game tomorrow night. We're not starting Khalil Herbert. I do think he should have been picked up in all leagues if your waiver wire ran last night. Otherwise, if your waivers are running tonight, I do like Khalil Herbert as a stash. And then I'm into Wednesday here. So that was the majority of the news that I wanted to get into. So hope everyone's doing well. Happy Wednesday. Are we ever going to feel confident starting Douglas? Probably not. I like him, Demario Douglas. We're never going to feel comfortable starting him. He's on the Patriots. He's got a rookie quarterback, and it seems like every week there's a new wide receiver one on that team. I think if you're starting Douglas, you're hoping for your 10 points. So probably never going to feel comfortable with Demario Douglas. He's a smaller slot receiver. He's not necessarily a number one receiver, a prototypical number one wide receiver for a fantasy team or let alone an NFL team. So never going to feel confident with Demario Douglas. We're picking one: Thomas Jr., Pollard, Harrison, Neighbors, Hopkins, Scaretary, Jennings in a non-PPR. Okay, so a non-PPR, who's going to catch touchdowns? I do like Tony Pollard in this one. Harrison, not super excited about Harrison right now. I think Pollard versus the Chargers is interesting. I do like Neighbors against the Panthers. I do like Hopkins against the Broncos, but that's a little bit tougher. And then Terry, Jennings. It's definitely not Jennings. Definitely not Jennings. I think I'm going to cross out Marvin Harrison. If I have to pick one, I kind of want to lean into either Pollard just because he's a running back and I know he's going to get touches, or I'm going to go Malik Neighbors. So to me, it's Pollard. If you want to lock in your 7 to 10 points and your chance at a touchdown gets you to 15, 16. Otherwise, Neighbors, he's good for a ton of targets and yards. They're playing Carolina. I could easily see a touchdown from Malik Neighbors this weekend. I would rank them as Pollard, Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Hopkins, and then the other guys I'm not going to really worry about. Pick one, half PPR: Eckler, Warren, D-Rob, Jennings, Josh Palmer. Half PPR. You probably got to go with Demarcus Robinson right now. He's been playing good football. I don't feel super trustworthy with Demarcus Robinson. I think Juwan Jennings is another good call as well. I am very interested, though, in Jaylen Warren, who I think could be a nice play this weekend. The Steelers also have a little bit tougher schedule coming up where, if they're in tighter games and they're playing from a deficit, we might have to see more Jaylen Warren out there in passing situations. So I do like Warren as the safest call in here because he's going to get 40, 60 yards. He's going to get a couple catches. We know that. So he's got a good 7 to 8 points built into that floor for you. But I think you probably got to go Demarcus Robinson, and then Juwan Jennings will be my next call. if Nico plays, rank BTJ and Dell have PPR. If Nico plays, I want to play Brian Thomas Jr., man. If Trevor Lawrence is out there and BTJ's out there, I'm playing Brian Thomas Jr. And if Nico's out, I still might even go Brian Thomas Jr. I really like Brian Thomas Jr. right now. Dell has been better of late, but he's still not really doing what he did last season. So I'm going Brian Thomas over Tank Dell. Pick 2.5 PPR, Rachaad White, Mostert, Eckler, and Chandler. I think we're probably crossing Chandler off the list. It does look like Cam Akers has hopped him for the RB2 spot. So I'm not even considering Ty Chandler at this point. I think Rachaad White is probably your safest play. He's usually good for 8 to 10 carries. I know he didn't get a lot of carries last week, but they're playing San Francisco, which is still a tough matchup. But Rachaad White has proven to be their lead back. They're still down all those wide receivers. They got to lean on these running backs. So to me, I'm going to rank them Rachaad White, Eckler, Mostert, Chandler. Oh, and if you're adding Rico, it's Rico. I'm starting Rico. And I know it's Cooper Rush, but that might actually mean more running the ball for the Dallas Cowboys, as you know, they don't really have the opportunity to air it out, and they shouldn't really throw the ball 40 times anyways. They might have to lean into Rico. So I'm choosing Rico over all of these running backs. I would rank them as Rico, White, Mostert. No, Rico, White, Eckler, Mostert, and then Chandler, whatever. So I'm not a huge Jameson Williams fan. He's kind of the exact prototype that I hate for fantasy football, because he's either going to get you 4 points or he's going to get you 22. And it's going to frustrate us when we start him and he gets those 4 points. So I'm not super in love with Jameson Williams. And this weekend against Houston, his first game back, I don't really know what to think. I kind of think I'm okay with playing Ricky Pearsall against Tampa Bay, who we know allows a lot of fantasy points to the wide receiver position. Pearsall looked good the last that we saw him, and I know Juwan Jennings is back. I know Kittle's healthy, and so is Debo. But I kind of feel fine with Ricky Pearsall getting 3-4 catches. If you're okay with the 7 to 10 points, I would say Pearsall. If you want to swing for the fences, then Jameson Williams is your guy. So I think by default I probably have to go with Jameson Williams just because I don't really see the ceiling there for Pearsall. So I'm going to say Jameson Williams is the guy. But let me look and see if there's any more news that we need to cover this weekend, things that I'm watching for. Big practice day tomorrow. Obviously, Thursdays are usually the big indicator as to whether a guy's going to go or not this weekend. Pick 3, Westbrook, Ikine, Gesicki, Gabe Davis, Benson, Gibson, Spears, Michael Wilson, Conklin, Tipton. It's Mike Gesicki, man. We've seen T. Higgins has been listed as doubtful. And I just want to double check, because I think in the games where T. Higgins misses, those have been big Mike Gesicki games. So Higgins did not play in weeks 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay. And then I'm looking at Mike Gesicki's numbers here. Week 1 for Mike Gesicki, 3 for 18, not the best game. But week 2 against Kansas City, he goes 7 for 91. Pretty nice game there. And then the last 2 weeks, 5 for 102 touchdowns, 7 for 73 against Philadelphia. That's 3 big hits out of 4 games here. I think Mike Gesicki is your best floor and your best ceiling in that game. So he's my first choice. Number 2, I'm not playing Benson. I'm not playing Gibson. If Spears plays, I'll play Spears because I like his upside, just catching the ball and things like that. And then it's tough between Michael Wilson and Westbrook. I think I'm going to lean Westbrook Ikine right now just because he's playing a little bit better. So Gesicki, Spears, Westbrook, Michael Wilson would have been 4th. Worthy, Warren, or Pearsall? Worthy. So Worthy, terrible game last weekend. I think he had -1 points. He's getting Denver this weekend. I don't know if he's going to be able to capitalize a big shot from Denver here. So I think your play is Jaylen Warren. Just collect your 7 to 8 points. Hope for a touchdown. Warren is the safest play this weekend, I think. DJ Quill, thanks for hanging out tonight. Full PPR, we're starting 2. Westbrook, Ikine, Pearsall, or Ray McLeod. It does look like Drake London's on track to play this weekend, but even if Drake London plays, Ray McCloud's still going to be out there a lot as the number 3 receiver, so I do feel pretty good about him. I'm not quite sure how to read Westbrook-Ikhine. Like, I don't trust that dude at all. I think he's not a good receiver. I think he's out there to block, and then he occasionally catches some passes. But he might be the best option of this group just because he's been playing good football the last handful of games. Let me just type in Westbrook-Ikhine's numbers here. Just let me double check. So we're looking at 6 targets, 5 for 50 and a touchdown. The dude scored 4 touchdowns all in the last 4 weeks. I don't expect that to continue, but sometimes you got to follow the numbers. So I think if you're starting to, Westbrook-Ikhine is one of these guys, and then I feel I'm not in love with Ray McCloud. I think if Drake London plays, I'm going to play Pearsall. If London's out, I'm going to go Ray. So Westbrook-Ikhine, and then wait for the Drake London news. White or ETN, we're going to go with Rachaad White. Hopkins or Rico, full PPR. Hopkins against Denver makes me a little nervous. Personally, I'm going Rico. I don't think there's a wrong answer here, though. I think these guys are both 12 to 15-point plays this weekend. I'm going to lean with the running back here. I think they're going to have to feature Rico Dowdle in this one with Cooper Rush. So I think Rico's who I would play personally, but I'm not going to fault you if you play D-Hop. I'm thinking that's Deontay Johnson or Worthy. So we did get Isaiah Likely out for this one here, which kind of makes me a little interested in Deontay Johnson because maybe they run more 3 wide receiver stuff in this one here. So I think, again, it's tough because we just haven't seen it with Deontay Johnson yet. I'm gonna lean Xavier Worthy in this one. It doesn't feel great though. If you want to play Deontay, I'm fine with it, but I'm gonna go Worthy. Harris, Javonte, Bucky, Irving, double PPR. Najee, we'll stick with Najee. He's been pretty good. And hey, no problem there, my man. Thank you for hanging out with me and getting your question in there for us. Questions are good, man. Sometimes when I get a question in and someone's listening, and even if it's not a certain question that they need for themselves, there's still good ways and things for them to take from that question. So thank you for getting your question in there, DJ. Trade JT and DJ for Tank Dell and James Cook, double PPR. Yeah, I want Tank Dell and James Cook. I think James Cook and Jonathan Taylor are kind of the same tier for me. They're both like a low-end RB1 in terms of my rankings. And then rest of season, yeah, I'm taking Tank Dell over Deontay Johnson for sure. So Tank Dell, James Cook, sign me up. And I think tomorrow night's game is going to be pretty fun. The Bengals I think their playoff percentage odds go through the roof if they find a way to win this game tomorrow night. So I know this game is in Baltimore. Is that correct? This game's in Baltimore. Baltimore doing their purple uniforms tomorrow night. 6-point favorites for Baltimore. I think Cincinnati covers that. Who's your favorite quarterback player of the week? Okay, so if I have to choose, and if this is a DFS question, and I don't have to worry about price, I mean it's probably Jalen Hurts this weekend at Dallas. It just feels like a really good spot. I do like Josh Allen quite a bit here too, but the guy that is the sneakiest favorite play for me is going to be Brock Purdy. Just getting Christian McCaffrey back. He's also got a healthy Debo, a healthy Juwan Jennings, Pearsall, George Kittle. This is going to be the best the 49ers offense has been health-wise all season here. So I think Brock Purdy's a sneaky one. And then another sneaky one would be Sam Darnold. So if you're looking for a top-tier quarterback, I think it's Hurts. If you're looking for like a middle-tier quarterback, I'm going to go Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold. I feel very good about all 3 of those guys this weekend, providing big numbers for us. Let me see what else I can give you guys. I'm going to hit we'll look at my weekly rankings here. I'm going to see who I have at quarterback. I can play Daniels, who is cheaper than Purdy. Daniels is cheaper than Purdy. Then I'm fine with that. I mean, the Steelers are still a pretty good defense, which concerns me a little bit. I'm just looking at what the Steelers have allowed so far to the quarterback position. this year they've faced some good quarterbacks. I mean, Kirk Cousins only got 6.2 week 1. Bo Nix got 8.3, but he was still not doing much week 2. Justin Herbert 9 points back in week 3. Joe Flacco had 15. Dak Prescott hit 16.4. Aiden O'Connell 11. Aaron Rodgers 11, and Daniel Jones 6. So they really haven't played a lot of good quarterbacks, but I kind of want to believe that the Steelers defense is good, although they really haven't played many good quarterbacks. I think I would rather play Purdy. I'd rather play Purdy or Daniels. But Purdy's interesting because you can stack Purdy with either Jawan or Kittle or even Pearsall. I don't know how much CMC is, but I think I'm interested in that the 49ers stack. Let me see if I can find any other fun news or information for us this weekend. Otherwise, if you guys don't have any more questions, you guys, I'll probably get out of here in a little bit. I will be going live tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We'll hang out for a half an hour tomorrow night, and I'll read all the news and get you guys updated with things. If you guys are not a member on thefantasyfellowship.com, you're missing out. I have all of my start-sit charts, my weekly rankings, my waiver wire report, my rest of season rankings were updated today. And those post-game notes with snap counts, routes, and all of the box score stats are up there. And then we just did a dynasty rankings update on the 1st. CMC is 33 with Purdy being 31. So I don't like CMC this week necessarily. Like I don't want if CMC's on my fantasy team, I want him in my lineup. If I'm playing DFS, I'm probably just not going to use CMC. It's his first game back. I would expect them to rely on Jordan Mason and Guerrero for a little bit of the percentage of work as well. So I don't think this is the weekend for CMC, even though I think he scores a touchdown. I don't think he's going to get the blow-up game that you need in a DFS style contest. I think if I'm looking around other running backs that I'm probably going to like more than CMC, and CMC's, I'm looking at ESPN's projections right now. They have him at RB6. Like I'm taking Devon Achane over him. I'm probably taking Joe Mixon. I like Breece Hall against Arizona. I like Kieran Williams against Miami. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs at Houston, but that's Sunday Night Football. I still like James Cook at Indianapolis. I think that's a good one. I don't love Javonte Williams this weekend against Kansas City. Kansas City, as I'm looking at it, they're the number 1 team against running back. They've only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns all year. The Chiefs have only allowed the most rushing yards they've allowed to running backs in a game this year was 74. That was the 49ers. So I don't really like the Denver Broncos running game this weekend. I do like Ramondre Stevenson against Chicago. We just saw the Arizona Cardinals light this team up. They ran for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. You can run the ball in Chicago, so I think Ramondre is an easy one. And then my favorite is probably Tyrone Tracy Jr. this weekend against Carolina. Tyrone's been, I don't know, plus 15 to 20 touches in the last 5 weeks here. I think it's Tyrone Tracy's season, so he's one of my favorite running backs. And if I'm going to look a little cheaper, that's probably where I'm going. But anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here for the night. Harris, if you have any more questions on DFS, hit me up on Twitter. We can talk through some things. But otherwise, 6:30 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Hopefully you guys get everything you need on your waivers. And thank you again. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Peace. Got me feeling icy.